Known for its Spanish architecture, cobblestone streets, and sunny beaches, this place is steeped in history. But beneath its charming exterior lies a darker side, a history filled with mystery and the supernatural. And nowhere is this more evident than at the St. Augustine Lighthouse. This isn't just any old lighthouse, folks. This one's got stories that'll send shivers down your spine. We're talking ghosts, tragedies, and legends that have been passed down for generations. Are you ready to explore? All right, let's begin. Welcome to Screamville. The St. Augustine Lighthouse has stood watch over the Atlantic coast since 1874, its beacon guiding ships safely to shore. But its history is far from peaceful. Over the years, this towering structure has witnessed its fair share of tragedy. From shipwrecks to accidental deaths, the lighthouse has borne witness to the fragility of life, and it seems the spirits of those who perished here are reluctant to leave. The story of the St. Augustine Lighthouse doesn't begin with the brick tower we see today. It goes back even further, to a time when Florida wasn't even part of the United States. The Spanish had already established St. Augustine as a settlement, and they needed a way to guide their ships safely to the harbor. So, sometime in the late 1500s, they built a watchtower. This wasn't your fancy towering lighthouse, just a sturdy wooden structure, probably manned by a lone lookout. He would have scanned the horizon day and night, watching for Spanish ships laden with goods from the New World. When he spotted one, he'd alert the folks in town, and they'd prepare for the ship's arrival. The year was 1824, and the young United States government was eager to establish its presence in its newly acquired territory. They recognized the importance of St. Augustine's strategic location and the need for a proper lighthouse to guide ships along the treacherous Florida coast. And so, the decision was made to build the first official lighthouse in Florida. This new lighthouse, built from coquina, a type of local limestone, wasn't as tall as the one we see today, but it served its purpose. It shone its light out over the Atlantic, warning mariners of the dangers lurking just offshore and guiding them safely into the harbor. This first lighthouse was a symbol of progress, a beacon of the new nation that was taking shape. Life as a lighthouse keeper was a solitary one, often isolating those who kept the lights burning bright. Such was the life of Maria Mestre de los Dolores Andreu, one of the first lighthouse keepers, and a woman who faced extraordinary hardship. Maria's husband, Joseph Andreu, was the head keeper, but tragedy struck in 1859. While diligently whitewashing the tower, Joseph lost his footing and fell to his death. Determined to honor her husband's memory and provide for her family, she took over his duties, becoming one of the first female lighthouse keepers in Florida's history. Maria's story is one of both heartbreak and inspiration. Time, folks, marches on, even for lighthouses. As the years passed, the relentless forces of nature began to take their toll on that first St. Augustine lighthouse. The coquina, once a sturdy material, began to crumble under the constant assault of the sea. The once straight tower started to lean, and cracks spiderwebbed their way up its walls. It became clear that the first St. Augustine Lighthouse, once a symbol of progress and hope, was nearing the end of its watch. By the 1870s, folks, it was clear that the old Coquina Lighthouse was fighting a losing battle against the sea. The erosion was getting worse, and the tower itself was in danger of collapsing. And so began the construction of a new lighthouse, one that would stand as a symbol of resilience and strength. This new lighthouse, the one that stands tall today, was built to last. Instead of coquina, they used sturdy brick, and they built it taller, a towering 165 feet, so its light could be seen even farther out to sea. They installed a state-of-the-art Fresnel lens, a marvel of engineering that could magnify the light of a single oil lamp to an incredible brilliance. The new St. Augustine Lighthouse stood as a symbol of hope, but its early days would be marked by a tragedy that would forever shape its legacy. It was 1873, and the lighthouse was nearing completion. The head keeper, Hezekiah Petit, lived on the grounds with his family, including his two young daughters, Mary and Eliza. The girls, full of life and laughter, were playing near the construction site when the unthinkable happened. The cart they were playing in broke loose and went barreling down the dunes towards the unforgiving ocean. The tragic deaths of those young girls cast a long shadow over the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Some say their playful spirits never left, Visitors and keepers alike have reported hearing the sound of children's laughter echoing through the tower and the keeper's house. And then there's the story of Joseph Andreu, the keeper who fell to his death from the old lighthouse. Some believe his spirit followed the light and now haunts the new tower. The story of the Pitti sisters is one that's haunted the St. Augustine Lighthouse for well over a century. Imagine, if you will, the year 1873. The new lighthouse was still under construction. Hezekiah Pitti, a man of the sea, was the foreman overseeing the project. He lived on the site with his family in the shadow of the rising tower. It was a bright and sunny day, folks, the kind of day that makes you want to throw your cares to the wind and soak up the warmth. The construction crew was hard at work, the air filled with the sounds of hammers pounding and men shouting instructions. Mary and Eliza, their laughter echoing in the salty air, convinced their father to let them ride in the cart. Joining them was another young girl, the daughter of one of the workers. The girls piled into the cart, their excitement palpable. And then, folks, it happened. The rope snapped. The cart, no longer tethered, began to roll down the dunes, picking up speed with each passing second. Imagine, folks, the horror of that moment, the girls' laughter turning to screams as they realized the danger they were in. The workers, alerted by the commotion, turning to see the runaway cart careening towards the water's edge. Hezekiah, his heart pounding in his chest, running towards his daughters, his every instinct screaming at him to reach them, to save them. But the ocean, folks, is a fickle mistress. One moment she's calm and serene, the next she's a raging beast. On that day, she showed no mercy. The cart, with its precious cargo, plunged into the churning waves, disappearing beneath the surface. Frantic hands reached into the water, desperate to pull the girls to safety, but it was too late. The current was strong, the waves unforgiving. One by one, the bodies of those 3 innocent girls were recovered, their lifeless eyes staring up at the cloudless sky. The grief, folks, was overwhelming. The lighthouse, once a symbol of hope and progress, became a tomb, its very stones seeming to weep with sorrow. Hezekiah, his heart shattered, buried his daughters near the shore, their graves marked by simple stones, a constant reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded. Now, the story of the Pitti sisters isn't the only one that whispers through the halls of the St. Augustine Lighthouse. There's another equally tragic tale that casts a long shadow over this beacon of the sea. The story of Joseph Andreu. Joseph, you see, was the head keeper of the original St. Augustine Lighthouse, the one built from coquina that stood watch before the current tower. He was a dedicated man, folks, someone who understood the importance of his duty, the weight of responsibility that came with keeping the light burning bright. One fateful day, in the year 1859, Joseph was attending to his duties. The lighthouse, like any structure exposed to the elements, required constant upkeep. On this particular day, Joseph was whitewashing the exterior, his brush moving rhythmically as he worked his way up the scaffolding. Now, some say that Joseph had a premonition that day, a sense of foreboding that settled over him like a shroud. Others claim that he'd been complaining about the scaffolding, saying it wasn't secure, that it wouldn't hold. Whatever the reason, folks, whether it was a gust of wind, a rotten plank, or simply a moment of inattention, the scaffolding gave way. The St. Augustine Lighthouse, steeped in tragedy, is where the veil between worlds feels thin. The Pitti sisters and Joseph Andreu, lost souls, are intertwined with the lighthouse's fabric. Visitors claim to feel a shift in the atmosphere, a sudden chill, a prickling sensation on the neck, a feeling of being watched. The most haunted spot is near the base, where the supply cart met its end. At dusk or dawn, you might hear faint children's laughter, a bittersweet reminder of innocence lost. The story of the Pitti sisters, folks, is the one most often associated with the St. Augustine Lighthouse, their tragic deaths etched into the very soul of this beacon of the sea. Those little girls, full of life and laughter one moment, gone the next, their spirits, some say, never truly left. Visitors, particularly those with children of their own, claim to hear the echoes of youthful laughter, the patter of tiny feet running through the keeper's house, the sweet, high-pitched voices calling out as if in play. Some have even reported seeing fleeting glimpses of the girls, their forms translucent, their laughter echoing through the halls. One particular story tells of a couple visiting the lighthouse with their young daughter. As they toured the keeper's house, the little girl suddenly tugged on her mother's hand and asked, "Mommy, who are those little girls I keep seeing?" When her mother replied that there were no other little girls there, the child insisted, pointing to a corner of the room. "Yes, there are. They're right over there playing hide and seek." It said that Mary and Eliza, forever young, forever bound to the lighthouse by their tragic fate, continue to play amidst the dunes and within the very walls of the tower, their youthful energy a constant reminder of the preciousness of life and the enduring power of the human spirit. Joseph Andreu, the lighthouse keeper who met his tragic end at the old Coquina Tower, is another soul often mentioned in whispers about the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Some say his spirit, unable to leave the beacon he so faithfully tended, followed the light to the new tower, his presence a comforting, if somewhat unsettling one. Those who work at the lighthouse, particularly the guides who share its history with visitors, often speak of Joseph with a mix of respect and apprehension. They say he's a benevolent presence, a watchful guardian who still feels a sense of duty to the lighthouse and those who visit. There are stories of tools mysteriously going missing, only to reappear in their rightful place, as if returned by an unseen hand. Guides have reported hearing footsteps echoing on the stairs or along the catwalk, even when they know they're alone. And some have even claimed to feel a hand on their shoulder, a reassuring touch, as they climb the winding stairs to the lantern room. One guide, a seasoned veteran of the lighthouse's many stories, tells of a time when he was locking up for the night. As he made his way down the spiral staircase, he felt a distinct coldness settle over him, and a deep voice, seemingly coming from the very walls themselves, whispered, "Good night, son. Thank you for keeping the light." The St. Augustine Lighthouse, folks, is a place of echoes. Echoes of the past, echoes of laughter and sorrow, echoes of voices long silenced. And those echoes, some say, are most pronounced in the dead of night, when the only sounds are the crashing of the waves and the mournful cries of seabirds. Paranormal investigators, drawn to the lighthouse's reputation as a hotbed of activity, have recorded numerous EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, within its walls. Whispers, disembodied voices, even what sounds like children's laughter captured on audio recordings when no one else was present. One chilling EVP, captured during an investigation of the keeper's house, seems to feature the voice of a young girl, her tone mournful, saying, "We're still here. We never left." Another recording, taken in the lantern room, picked up a deep, raspy voice, believed by some to be Joseph Andreu, the former keeper, saying, "Keep the light burning. Warn them of the shoals." These unexplained sounds, folks, these whispers in the dark, serve as chilling reminders that perhaps we are not alone, that the veil between this world and the next is thinner than we might think, and that some stories, some voices, refuse to be silenced by time or tide. The St. Augustine Lighthouse isn't just a beacon for ships at sea. Some believe it's also a beacon for lost souls, where the veil between worlds is thin, a place where those who have passed find solace and perhaps communicate with the living. Visitors report a sense of peace and unseen, comforting presences. Some feel a connection to loved ones, sensing their presence nearby, hearing whispers on the wind, feeling their touch. One woman felt her late grandfather's presence so strongly, she broke down in tears. Perhaps there's something to be said for places like the St. Augustine Lighthouse, places where history, tragedy, and the enduring spirit of humanity converge, reminding us that even in darkness, there is light. Now, you guys know I'm not one to shy away from a good ghost story, but even I'll admit there are times when it's best to call in the professionals. And when it comes to the paranormal, there are few folks more dedicated, more equipped than the teams from those ghost hunting shows we see on TV. The St. Augustine Lighthouse, with its reputation for hauntings and its long history of tragedy, has attracted its fair share of paranormal investigators over the years. Teams with their fancy gadgets and their unwavering determination to document the unexplainable have descended upon this beacon of the sea, hoping to capture evidence of the spirit said to linger within its walls. One of the most well-known paranormal investigation shows, Ghost Hunters, spent several nights at the lighthouse, their every move documented by cameras and their every word recorded for all to hear. They explored the tower, the keeper's house, and the surrounding grounds, using EMF readers, thermal cameras, and other high-tech equipment to try and communicate with the spirits rumored to reside there. Another show, known for its more dramatic approach to ghost hunting, Ghost Adventures, also paid a visit to the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Their investigation, filled with tense moments and spine-chilling encounters, left viewers wondering if perhaps there was more to the stories than met the eye. Now, these paranormal investigators, they don't just rely on gut feelings and spooky stories, folks. They go in armed with all sorts of gadgets designed to detect fluctuations in electromagnetic fields, changes in temperature, and any other anomalies that might indicate the presence of something, well, unnatural. And at the St. Augustine Lighthouse, these gadgets, they lit up like a Christmas tree. EMF readers, which some believe can detect the presence of spirits, went haywire, their needles bouncing erratically as the investigators moved through the darkened rooms. Thermal cameras, which detect heat signatures, captured unexplained cold spots in areas where there should have been none. These cold spots, often associated with the presence of spirits, seemed to move, to shift, as if something unseen was passing through the very air the investigators were breathing. And then there were the sounds. Unexplained noises picked up by sensitive microphones placed strategically throughout the lighthouse. Footsteps echoing on the spiral staircase when no one was supposed to be there. A door creaking open on its own, followed by the sound of something heavy dragging across the wooden floor. Perhaps the most compelling evidence captured during these paranormal investigations, folks, was the sound of a child's voice, recorded during an EVP session in the keeper's house. Now, EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, are those eerie recordings that sometimes capture disembodied voices, whispers, or other sounds that seem to originate from beyond the veil. The investigators, huddled around their recording equipment, their faces illuminated by the glow of their laptops, listened in stunned silence as a young voice, filled with a mixture of sadness and longing, whispered, "Help us, we're trapped." Now, some folks, they might dismiss this as mere static, a trick of the mind playing on the investigators' expectations. But for those who believe, who have felt the presence of the unseen, it was a chilling reminder that the spirits of those lost, particularly the spirits of children, might still be seeking solace, seeking acknowledgement, seeking a way to communicate with the world of the living. The voice, believed by many to be that of one of the Pity sisters, seemed to emanate from the very walls of the keeper's house, a poignant reminder of the tragedy that had unfolded there so many years ago. It was a voice that sent chills down the spines of even the most skeptical investigators, a voice that seemed to whisper, "Remember us. Our story is not yet over." The St. Augustine Lighthouse, it's more than just a tower, more than just a beacon warning ships away from the treacherous shoals. It's a symbol, a landmark, a sentinel that stood watch over this stretch of coastline for generations. Its light, it's seen it all, the comings and goings of ships, the changing tides, the storms that lash the shore, and the quiet moments of peace when the only sound is the cry of gulls overhead. But it's also a place where history and mystery collide, where the stories of the living and the dead seem to intertwine. Whether you're a history buff or a ghost hunter, a believer or a skeptic, there's something about the St. Augustine Lighthouse that touches the soul. Today, the St. Augustine Lighthouse isn't just a relic of the past. It's a living museum, a testament to its builders and keepers. Folks come for its beauty, history, and haunted reputation. They climb the tower, feeling the wind, marveling at the view. They explore the keeper's house, imagining lives lived within its walls. Some remember the Pity sisters, their laughter in the sea breeze. They think of Joseph Andreu, his spirit still tending to his duty. The St. Augustine Lighthouse reminds us the past is never truly gone. It's in the wind, the shadows, and the stories we carry. As long as that light shines, those stories will be told. So, visit the lighthouse, climb the tower, and listen to the stories. You might feel a chill or hear a whisper. A visit to the St. Augustine Lighthouse is unforgettable. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.